I never intended to find it. It was just another late commute, the kind of night where the air in the subway station felt stale, clinging to the back of my throat. The lights flickered as they always did, humming a low electrical drone that merged with the distant rumble of trains. The platform was nearly empty, save for a few tired passengers staring at their phones. I sat alone on the bench, watching the empty track stretch into blackness. The train was delayed. 5 minutes, 10, 15. The digital display flickered, resetting the countdown. I stood to stretch my legs, pacing toward the end of the platform where a rusted maintenance door was half concealed behind an old vending machine. I'd never noticed it before. A faint draft stirred the edges of paper-thin grime at its base. The handle was rusted, the paint chipped, but it wasn't locked. Without thinking, without understanding why, I tugged it open. Behind the door was a narrow staircase, steep and descending into darkness. The air that drifted up was cold, metallic, tinged with the faint scent of earth and oil. I hesitated, my pulse quickening, but the silence of the station was heavier now, pressing me forward. I stepped inside. The stairs groaned under my weight. My footsteps echoed sharp against the close walls. The light from the platform faded behind me, swallowed by the dark. I should have turned back, but something compelled me to keep going, down and down, until the air grew colder, heavier, thick with a silence so complete it muffled the sound of my own breathing. At the bottom of the stairs, the corridor widened into a long, low hallway lined with doors. Metal, wooden, some ajar, others sealed tight. The walls were lined with faded posters, peeling and discolored, the text in a language I couldn't quite recognize. I reached the end of the hall and found a room. It wasn't large. The walls were concrete, cracked and stained, the floor littered with debris, shards of glass, rusted bolts, scraps of paper yellowed with age. But at the center stood a table, and on the table, a box. It was old, wooden, darkened with age. Symbols were carved into its surface, unfamiliar but precise. I shouldn't have approached it. But my body moved without my consent, my hand reaching out to trace the lines etched into the wood. The box was cold, and the moment my fingers made contact, a faint hum threaded through the air, low, rhythmic, vibrating in my bones. I lifted the lid. Inside was a reel of film, old, brittle, its surface clouded with dust. Beside it, a small, rusted projector. I don't know why, but I set it up, threading the film through the machine, plugging it into a nearby outlet that sparked faintly when touched. The hum deepened, merging with the grind of the projector as the film began to play. The image flickered to life on the far wall, a grainy black and white scene of the same subway platform I had just left. Empty at first, then filling slowly with blurred figures, faces indistinct. They stood motionless, watching the camera. One figure stepped forward. It was tall, thin, its limbs impossibly long. Its face was a smear of shadow, its eyes two pinpricks of light. It raised a hand, pointing not at the camera but at me. The hum surged, drowning out the faint sound of the projector. The shadows in the room twisted, elongating as though the film was bleeding into reality. The figure in the film stepped closer to the screen, its hand pressing against the wall, and the concrete rippled like water, the image growing sharper, more solid. I tried to stop the projector, but the switch wouldn't move. The plug wouldn't come loose. The figure pressed further, its form distorting, stretching through the wall into the room. Fingers emerged first, long, jointed, slick with something dark. Then an arm. Then the suggestion of a head. The hum became a roar inside my skull, thoughts dissolving into static. I backed away, but the room had grown smaller, the walls pressing inward, the shadows coiling tighter. The air grew heavy with the scent of rust and wet stone. The figure's head emerged fully, twisting as though it couldn't quite decide on a shape. Its face leaned close to mine, those pinprick eyes widening. The hum threading into a whisper only I could hear. "Found you." I ran. Back through the hallway, up the stairs, through the rusted door that should have been locked. The platform was empty. Silent. The train had arrived, its doors open. I boarded, breathless, heart racing. But as the train pulled away, I glanced back. The maintenance door was gone, and in the reflection of the window just behind my shoulder, 2 pinprick lights hovered, watching. I couldn't sleep. Even though I had locked every door and window, even though every light in my apartment was on, the feeling of being watched clawed at the edge of my thoughts. Shadows shifted where they shouldn't, stretching longer than the furniture could cast, pooling into corners that should have been empty. I thought it would stop if I stayed awake. I was wrong. I sat on the couch, laptop open, trying to distract myself with meaningless scrolling, but the screen flickered, once, twice. Then static rippled across the display. The screen dimmed, then went black, though I hadn't touched a thing. And in the blackness, faintly, I saw a reflection. Not mine. A hallway, long, narrow, lined with doors. The faint flickering light of a projector danced across cracked walls. I slammed the laptop shut, but the hum had already begun. Low and deep, threading through the walls, vibrating the floorboards, threading its way into my pulse. I thought I could outrun it. I grabbed my keys, shoved my feet into shoes, and fled into the night. The streets were empty, the air sharp with the bite of early morning chill. I could still feel the hum pressing against my skull, a presence that didn't weaken with distance. I ended up at the subway station. It was deserted, the turnstiles locked for the night. But I had nowhere else to go. I climbed over them, descending the stairs to the platform. The air was heavy, filled with the scent of oil and damp concrete, and there it was, the maintenance door. Back, exactly where I'd first seen it. I should have run, should have left. But the hum grew louder, pulling me forward, whispering that this was the only way to end it. The door creaked open as I approached, the darkness beyond pulsing like a living thing. I stepped inside. The staircase twisted downward, longer than before, the steps slick with moisture, the walls closing in. The air was thicker here, dense with the scent of rust and old earth. The hum deepened into a rhythm, threading through the stone itself. At the bottom was the hallway. Longer now, the doors more numerous. Some were ajar, revealing slivers of rooms beyond, rooms with walls that breathed, floors that pulsed, ceilings that flickered with the faint glow of film projection. At the end of the hallway was the room. The table was there as before, but the box was open now. The reel was spinning slowly, the old film threading itself through the air, coiling like smoke. The projector had no plug, no cord. It pulsed with its own light, flickering shadows onto the far wall. I couldn't stop myself from watching. The images shifted and warped, scenes from my own life, distorted and smeared. Me at the kitchen table, unaware. Me in bed, dreaming. Me staring into a mirror, my reflection delayed by a fraction of a second, as though something else was mimicking me just behind the glass. The figure stepped forward in the film. Tall, thin, limbs impossibly long, face a smear of shadow with pinprick eyes. It reached out, not toward the camera, but toward me. The film rippled, the wall beneath it flexing as though it were no longer stone but liquid, ready to let something through. The hum crescendoed, filling the room, the hallway, threading through my thoughts until I couldn't separate it from my own pulse. Ready for the next reel, the voice whispered again, not from the film, not from the shadows, but from behind me. I turned. The hallway behind me had vanished. Only the room remained, the walls twisting inward, the floor sinking beneath my feet. The figure stepped out of the film, its form distorting, stretching, pulling itself into the space where I stood. Its fingers brushed my face, cool and dry, leaving faint smears of shadow on my skin. I tried to scream, but the sound was swallowed by the hum. The last thing I saw was the figure's face pressing closer, its pinprick eyes expanding, filling my vision. I woke in my apartment. Everything looked normal. The doors, the windows, the lights, all untouched. But the hum still lingered, faint now, threading through the walls like a heartbeat. On the kitchen table was a package, plain, no return address, my name written in the same thin, neat script. Inside was a reel of film, labeled Next. And I know no matter what I do, no matter how I fight it, the projector will start again. And the film will play.